I am the CEO for the Lompoc Valley Chamber. So welcome and thank you for being a part of State of the City. We're really excited to hear from our city officials as well as Lompoc Unified School District and Lompoc Valley Medical Center. Thank you. So before we get started, I would just like to make a few introductions to some of our dignitaries in the room. So if you guys could just give a wave so everybody knows who you are. First, we have Lompoc City Mayor Janelle Osborne, City Manager Dean Albra, Lompoc City Council Member Dirk Starbuck, our newest Lompoc Police Chief, Mr. Kevin Martin. God, that sounds good. From Congressman Salud Carvajal's office, we have Erica Reyes. Lompoc Unified School District Superintendent, Dr. Claire Finneran. Lompoc Valley Medical CEO, Stephen Popkin. Allen Hancock College President, Dr. Kevin Walters. Channel Island YMCA Regional Executive Director, Tommy Spidell. North County Rape Crisis Center Executive Director, Ann McCarty. Savvy Health Executive Director, Aaron Sugart. Santa Maria Valley Chamber CEO, Glenn Morris. Communify CEO, Patricia Keelan. United Boys and Girls Club CEO, Michael Baker. And Lompoc Valley Community Health Care Organization Executive Director, Ashley Costa. In addition, I would like to acknowledge and introduce our chamber staff, Myra Soto. There she is. Chamber Board of Directors, Michael Carroll. Tim Harrington. Our Chamber Military Affairs Chair, Sylvia King. And our Chamber Ambassadors, Pat Nurnberg and Oscar Diaz. And now I will turn it over to our City Manager, Dean Albro.
All right, thank you. Welcome to education, the Lompoc Unified School District and the hospital as well. It's good to have you guys. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk. Today I'm going to talk a little bit, there's me. There, I'm kind of going too fast. Okay, I got used to the clicker here. I see you're helping me. So right now is our budget time, so we're putting together our budget for next year, and we're finishing up last year. I think it's worthy of saying we had a pretty good balanced budget. We put a little bit aside for our fund balance. We were lucky enough to get $12.9 million in ARPA funds in this run. I think it still says 12.8. Anyways, we were able to put that into a capital improvement program. We were able to replace a lot of our aged radio system, about $2.5 million. And that's about 30-year-old system that we're glad to get replaced. We're also going to do some upgrades to the aquatic center, tennis courts over here, and pickleball. Pickleball is really popular. I found that out at council meetings. And then our next frontline fire engine, I always feel like Tim the Toolman Taylor when I see that engine take off. It just looks so good, All right, I think we're going to play a video here on some of the stuff we got done on the budget. So as we get ready to put our 23-25 budget together, we pretty much look at everything and see what we're going to do, and I know it's going to affect a lot of you guys too as well. One thing I kind of wanted to know, I mean, everybody talks about, are we in a recession? Is a recession coming? And no, we're not. Matter of fact, if you look at this graph, you can see how low our unemployment is. If it was a recession, it would be a high unemployment. The same with GDP and production. If it was a recession, you can actually see in this graph, you can see the dip in the '07 recession there. You can see the pandemic dip that was really short, but we're producing a lot of goods, so that's a good thing. Matter of fact, they talk about supply chain issues. I think really this graph is what is causing the supply chain issues, and that's inflation. If you look at the dip there, and that was during the recession when we had a big down in the economy, a lot of aggregate shift in assets and the banking crisis. Bernanke put $3.5 trillion into the economy to stimulate it. If you look at what happened during the pandemic, and really the pandemic was really financially very short. It didn't have a really big impact as everybody thought they were. Matter of fact, you look what happened to the city. Our sales tax went through the roof. Cannabis tax went through the roof. Our TOT was down, but it was overall, we didn't see a really big hit like you would expect you would see. But they put $6.5 trillion out in the market. That's really what's causing a lot of this supply chain issues. And it's kind of like drinking a bottle of tequila. You feel really great when you have it, but the next day you really feel it. And this is the hangover of the putting that much money out in the economy. Matter of fact, to put it in perspective, you can see how much money was in the economy before the pandemic. It was $1 trillion, and now we're still sitting at $5 trillion. So there's a ton of wealth out there. So we're seeing that this is going to push us. We have a downturn in the economy with GDP. I think this is worth mentioning too. I know everybody's dealing with labor shortages, and if you kind of look back and think about what really happened during the pandemic, you had the baby boomers who really got scared out of the market. They were going, I don't want to die, so I'm going to go home. I'm going to refinance my house at 2.5 interest. I'm going to take care of those grandkids. And if you look right below that, you'll see that there's a big dip in the population, and we'll have to wait till the millennials get older in order to help us out. But, we're going to see it for a while. So overall, what do I think is going to happen to our budget? I think that we're going to see, low unemployment. We're going to see productivity. We've got a lot of wealth out there to push us through the lower, anytime that we're going to see a recession. And we're predicting we're going to see really good sales tax, property tax, and all our taxes. We're also hoping to add some services to our budget. May 9th, at 6:30, you can come to City Hall. You can give your input on some of the things you'd like to see. And I have the best job, I really do. And it's really because of this slide right here. I have the best staff. I mean, people, they're so committed, so dedicated, and they're always trying to make better service levels that they can provide to the community. And I'd like to introduce Kevin Martin. I know you already got introduced once. And Brian Fallon, our police chief and fire chief, are two new people. I'm going to play a short video of some of our staff, and I wanted to say thank you. That's all I really have. I'm going to turn it over to the mayor.
So before I start, I just would ask all city staff that are present, raise your hand. I want the community to realize that you're also here in attendance, and if you would thank them. It's a thankless job. Most of the time, they're dealing with the complaints and not with the kudos for the almost sight unseen work. Pardon me while I get this out of my face. All right. It's an exciting time in our community. We're having our 135th anniversary as a city. We incorporated in 1888, and it's the 100th year of our electrical division, our public power agency that allows us to keep our rates much lower than our neighboring private power supplier, PG&E. So sorry for any of you that live in the county. But it is one of the things that makes Lompoc unique. As Dean mentioned, our forward progress is about our city departments, and more importantly, those doing the work, both in the public eye and often behind the scenes. I also want to thank the Lompoc Chamber, the hospital, as well as the school district for being here today. I think Davika's idea, I won't take credit for it, of having all of the major decision makers in the community be a part of the state of the city will really paint a better picture and show that we're in a new era of partnerships. It's been stop and go of working with each other, and there is a goal between all of us to really move the community forward by not working in silos, but by being partners in addressing the issues that we're all facing as a community. So let's start off with public safety. We know how important public safety is. Sometimes it can't be overstated enough, but there's exciting things. Besides our new chief, who isn't new to us, we've been very lucky to consider him homegrown, and so that's a point of pride for us. We've also had 11 promotions within the department, hired 2 jailers, and been able to reassign a school resource officer to the high school. They've also managed to get some updating in of service and equipment, still more to come, and I know you may not be as excited, but I know they are, and our community benefits from the new radios. We finally replaced the 30-year-old radios that we had that didn't work with other systems and often didn't work within police to fire. So that allows us to move on to the next phase, where we'll be able to implement the body cams for not just patrol, but for the community resource officers and for our jailers. That has been a demand not only by the community, but by council and the department. But we had to phase it in, not just because of cost, but because of the outdated radios and needing to have radios that worked with those body cams once we purchased them. We're also going to need to obtain a new computer-aided dispatch system and records management and jail management system, partially because of the high demand on our limited staff. We want to make sure they're more efficient, and there's new technology out there that will help them do their job better and be better supportive to the community. And we're going to return the motorcycle officer to traffic enforcement, so start slowing down now and get in the practice. I want to say that we're doing our best to fill the positions. Unfortunately, we are still often a training ground, so we often lose good officers very quickly to surrounding communities. So if you know someone who's interested in law enforcement, this is a great community to not just learn, but to then stay and have an amazing career. So I would encourage you to encourage those interested in that career path to apply with us. And finally, the department is really looking to reinstate some of its community activities that we had to shelve when we had limited staff. So things like the community self-defense course, the Explorers Post, the Community Academy, and the National Night Out. Next month, on May 17th, will be the Food Truck Festival. It relaunched last year, and it's really exciting. And this year, we're combining Cyclemania with it, so there'll be an opportunity to also learn bike safety while you enjoy the food trucks and all the kids' activities they've organized. On the other side of the house in public safety, fire is been very busy as well. We have a new chief there, and he's had 2 battalion chief promotions that bring a total of 15 years of fire experience to the leadership team, as well as promoting 3 captains and an engineer and hiring 3 EMT firefighters. One of our biggest calls is for medical. So it was important to get those additional staff. So just an idea about the stats for police and fire, there was over 38,063 calls for service. Of those, 1,225 led to arrests. 18,070 of those were for 911 calls, and 48,534 were for non-emergency calls. So for a town of our size, our public safety division is very active, very responsive, and we appreciate the years with which you doubled down with low staff, and look forward to being even more amazing as you get fully staffed. Again, we were fully staffed until my other chief retired, so I blame him for us losing our fully staffed status. The fire department also, as Dean mentioned, was able to hire not its first, but its second Pierce Enforcer fire engine arriving next month. So we will now have 2 frontline engine companies that are less than 5 years old. And that's really a game changer for us, because our engines had been well over 25 to 30 years old, and in fact some failing to pass inspection. We were also able to purchase a second extractor system for Station 52. Last budget cycle, we got one for Station 51. This equipment is really important, given fire lives and works in the space. And when they come back from fires, their clothing can be covered in carcinogens. So this system allows it to clean professionally the equipment, the environment, and keep them from living in now a carcinogenic environment that they brought in with them. So it's really important to us. We've had loss and individuals that have had job-related cancer on our fire teams, and one of the things we want to do is create that environment where you're safe and healthy for everyone. We did a great job in both divisions responding to the recent rains and the flooding, and so I just want to thank you all for that. We even got some federal recognition from Representative Carbajal for that response. So it's nice to know that the day-to-day is taken care of, and when the regional emergencies step up, we're partners in addressing that, and it comes from good leadership on down. Both divisions have issues they're working on. You'll hear about them during budget discussion, so be sure and participate in those. And if you can't attend the meeting, don't hesitate to reach out to any of your council members or send emails to us so that we hear what your concerns are, so we take it into consideration as we move forward. Another big department that makes us different from our surrounding communities is the fact that all of your utilities, except natural gas, are delivered by our city. That also means that we control the costs, and you control the costs by being a direct advocate. So when we have these discussions at council meeting, show up, let us know your concerns. Unfortunately, sometimes there's no choice but to move forward with them. How do we do it in a way that's both fair for covering your costs and making sure it's not too much, but also hear your voice and try and be respectful of the impact it's going to cause on you, and partner with groups like Communify to help you deal with those that are feeling the impact and provide services to address them. So, solid waste this year diverted over 63% of all its waste from going into the landfill, and that's good for us. We own that landfill, and we can extend the life if we don't put everything in it. The landfill is also gearing up for a stormwater improvement project that's being required from the federal level to help us have quality water leaving the site and handle a 100-year, 24-hour storm event. We kind of saw what happened during the recent rain, so it's definitely needed. But again, it was an unfunded mandate. This is leading to that rate increase in solid waste by 15% to cover those costs, the increase in operation costs, and to put this project in on top of the unfunded mandate for organics recycling. So a lot of things are being pushed down from the state and the federal level that are important but don't come with funding, and we ultimately do have to cover those costs, which you'll see rate increases occur, but we're trying to be very conscientious of the council as to how much, how quickly, and for what projects are the absolute necessary. Our electric division is, again, having its 100th anniversary, and it's a point of pride. I serve on the Northern California Power Agency Board, which we are a member of, or a founding member of, being part of a consortium to acquire and produce our own power, and then locally being able to deliver it and respond to emergencies, whether it's during the recent storms or it's just something falls. We have windy days where sometimes a line goes down. This past year, they worked really hard to ongoing upgrades to underground facilities, conversions from 4 kV to 12 kV, and replacing poles. It's an ongoing thing, and maintenance isn't sexy, but man, it makes our life easy when we can walk into a room and flip that switch and our lights just work. We also have a great response time. If we have downed lines, because we are our own power department, you see response within 10 minutes if it's easy, to within the day and having the power back up, compared to waiting for them to come out of another region, assess the problem, and then have another team come from another destination, then the product to replace coming from another destination that I know some of our neighbors are experiencing 24 to 48 hours in some scenarios with the storms. The big highlight for this year is the Lompoc City Electric Division for the first time received a Smart Energy Provider designation from American Public Power Agency. We're one of 97 public power agencies out of the total of 2,000 in the nation that now holds this honor, and I want to congratulate our very small but mighty staff for acquiring that. The Conservation Department is behind the scenes. They do great things to help you and your business and residents save money. We did rebates totaling over $71,405 in 2022. But then they do fun things like to promote conservation. They worked with the local middle school and let them create conservation-themed images that went into this year's utility calendar. So you'll get to see this calendar if you pick one up at any of the city facilities, and if you want one in Spanish, we did it in English and Spanish. So it was of great pride to go and spend a lunch with these students and thank them for sharing their thoughts on how to improve our community and conserve and be a part of that message for the future. So I want to thank them. And again, pick up your calendar. I have one at the office, I have one at home, and it's just really pretty. They did amazing work. Our water division first, upgraded equipment and are trying to make sure that that's equipment that makes more accurate data collection for billing so that you're not overcharged or undercharged. They also really work with conservation when they see a spike in your water usage to reach out to you and let you know, you might have a leak. There might be something going on, rather than you just paying the bill and thinking, wow, rates have gone up. Yeah, those are going to happen, but we really try and be proactive when we see issues, and it's a combination between those divisions to monitor your utility building. The Public Works Department is a lot of what we're complaining about right now, right? Everybody notices how many more potholes we have as a result of the rains. And it's really unfortunate because our streets were already in a difficult condition to recover from. As you heard from one of our presentations, we've gone to being $50 million behind to nearly $70 million behind in trying to pave everything. But Public Works is working really hard where they can to recover from those potholes and still implement some of the needed changes that are scheduled with our limited resources. So we did nearly $5 million in required pedestrian improvements and pavement dig-outs and Cape Seal repairs this past year. It may not feel that way with the rains and the potholes, but we're working towards biting little bites of that big elephant and trying to tackle it. The airfield is also getting a massive electrical upgrade from their runway issues that they were having, thanks to the FFA grant of nearly $5 million. So they're working really hard on that. And it's a privilege to have our own public airport that isn't massively filled with private entities and commercial flights, but is a great resource for the local pilot community and local events that happen with the skydiving and that sort of thing. So it's a unique aspect, and we love having it in our community. Urban Forestry performed close to 100 tree trims just for electrical lines, but amazingly, it was 800 tree trims last year. Now, it paid off when we had all the storms. We had very few trees come down. Some of them, unfortunately, were the stone pines, but they responded really quickly to help clean that up as well. So I want to thank them for that. The ongoing work with our community health organization through the hospital and the Unified School District allowed us to apply for an active transportation grant and receive nearly $2.8 million for walkability and community safety programs. The avionics equipment at the airport's also being replaced. We got 4 new Colt buses. And the fleet, well, they took care of over 400 vehicles, as well as acquiring some of those replacement vehicles, while assisting the county with getting the blades through our community up to the new wind farm above us, which is not inside the city limits. And as a caveat, just for any of you curious, it puts energy into the grid, but not directly into Lompoc's public power. So it does help the grid, but it doesn't help Lompoc with our costs and our energy production directly. We are not part owners in that. The other department that is where a lot of us spend time is community development, and that's all of these areas. Whether it's getting out and enjoying our community or investing in it and building something, this department juggles it all. So the parks is a big focus for us. We've been excited about the additional money we've been able to put into parks. And so you'll see that we have in place replaced the aquatic center heaters. And we have made improvements at Thompson Park, which you'll see a video of here. Go ahead and play that video for me. And then we got a massive grant from Carbajal's office through the appropriations last year for Pioneer Park. So we're working to start that. It will be a huge improvement and is valued ultimately probably over $3 million, but we couldn't get it done without the $1.8 million that we got through the federal government. And Ryan Park is having its playground and fitness area improved as well. So the next thing that we're really happy that not just returned, but finally staffed is our code enforcement department. So the community development has done a lot of things, as you'll see here, to help those in our community in need with all the services and programs they have. But on top of that, code enforcement is housed under. And council returned that position 2 years ago. It just took a while to get that position filled. It's a difficult position, so finding somebody with the experience and the attitude that's helpful rather than punitive took time. But we are very proud to bring back a former employee, and he has jumped right in. So you can see on our website, on the homepage, you can scroll over to the far right side, and how do I? Click down, and right there is file a code compliance concern. You can scroll down, fill it in, attach images, and you will actually get a response. It's no longer just fill the form out and hope somebody gets back to you. Kenny and his team are responding to you saying, we have heard your concern. It is something under our ability to address, or, this is a county issue, so we're going to make sure, communicate with the county and make sure you get contacted by them. It's within another division, so we're going to pass that on to them, but we're going to follow up and make sure that you're hearing from it. So last year, when we only had a part-timer back in June, she was juggling a whole lot. And then December, we gained our code enforcement officer. So in 2022, there were 333 complaints received. 37% of those were for property maintenance, graffiti, and 30% of those were concerns with illegal parking and abandoned vehicles. So in 2023, as of March 30th, we're already at 77 complaints. 31% of those are concerns like abandoned vehicles and illegal parking. 30% of those are property maintenance and weed abatement and visible graffiti, overgrown weeds. So far, they've opened 41 cases and closed 41 cases. There's 30 that are active, and it's only taking 19 days on average to get compliance. So again, if you have concerns and issues, whether it's your business, the residential area you're in, the parks, we are hearing you and working towards addressing those. And because you are our eyes and ears, please use that form. Calling us on the phone is great, but this goes directly into an automated system that helps us track, helps them document what's going on in it, so it's really helpful if you use that. Last but not least, who you go to if you're building a business or you're redoing your house. And so a lot goes on in the planning and building division. And we have a very small staff that juggles a lot of things and a lot of different opportunities that may not occur in other communities. So they have worked really hard this past year to approve the Streetscape Multimodal Improvement Plan, and then received a grant from the state, nearly $4 million, to help start implementing it, and received an award from the Central Coast Planning organization. So congratulations to the planning department. They're also working through the housing element update mandated by the state. We've had a couple of public engagements. We'll continue to have those before the final submittal later this year. So it's really important to hear from you. We need to hear what kind of housing you're looking for, what kind of housing your employees are looking for, so that we make sure the state realizes whether their state mandated changes work for our community or not. The plan going forward says we can meet all of their mandated needs, but is it actually what our community needs? So we need to hear back from you. Lots of permits and building have gone on. Can you advance that one for me? Thank you. Here's just a sampling of all the new businesses that have come in, are coming in, or have redone their business. And so I want to thank you all for that investment in the community and for providing services that are much needed by our residents, and for improving. A lot of it is improving older facilities and sprucing up our community. So that's part of the energy you're beginning to see and feel in the community. The library is a favorite of mine, and I think it's a well-used facility by many in our community. They've done a great job as they've come out of the pandemic to provide opportunities for us to get out and engage with each other and provide a safe place for people to come and interact. For instance, they had a tiny art show that anyone could participate in and displayed it in the Grossman Gallery for a month. The recent Peeps Diorama contest that you saw on social media was a lot of fun, and I appreciate everybody for getting in the spring mode with that. Their program this year has been designed around sustainable Lompoc, so you'll see library programs focusing on things like finance, utilities, gardening, tools to help you get through and weather whatever crisis you're in by doing it in a smart way and with the newer tools that are out there. So the library is always one of those places that can not only be a resource but be educational as well as a safe space. Look forward to their summer programs that they're putting together this year, and I hope to see you all there. Did I go too far? Oh, I flipped my notes. So the new system to find what's online and available before you ever go in is really nice. I've used it a few times, and I encourage you all to try it out. And I wanted to make sure you saw that it's got a new name. It's lom.blackgold.org. So it's been updated and improved, and so lots of exciting changes happening with ways to access the library without ever entering it. All right. The people behind the scenes. This, for me, is a department that doesn't get enough thanks, and they deal with a lot of issues in our community, and that's our Management Services Division. This past year, they received a Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for the 2021 audit, and under their new leadership, because Dean stepped away from that department to become our city manager, and that new leadership in Christy Donnelly received a Clean Independent Financial audit. That is hard to do, as complicated as our financials are, so kudos to that team. They processed over 158,000 payments through Treasury last year and over 189,000 utility bills through the utility department last year, while all at the same time setting up 1,382 payment plans for those that are behind on their utility bills. So we really do try and pay attention and work with individuals to help them recover if they get behind. So thank you for often being the face and the support to individuals that are having trouble surviving what may not be a positive economy for them if they're falling out from the pandemic. Last but not least, the administrative department. These guys are really what helps council run smoothly, kind of keeps us in check sometimes too. The city manager and his staff really look at what's the future for Lompoc? How do we make it brighter and more successful for everyone? They work on project plans and building relationships with the school district, with the chamber, with the hospital. And I'm really excited. We've been working for a couple of years on the old CC Military Installation Sustainability Report. It was a federal grant we received, and we're just about complete. And the information provided in it really gives us the ability to not only make sure the base is resilient and can provide its mission, especially in a time of crisis for multi-days, but that the city itself is resilient and able to maintain its support for all of us as well as the base in a crisis. So we'll be rolling that out as soon as all the parties finish signing off on it. So to wrap up, we recently began our 23-25 budget. As you heard Dean discuss, we're going to have more budget discussions. Many of you replied to a survey. These are some of the topics that rose to the level and some of the priorities that you gave us. As a result of that, at our first budget discussion, Council was able to identify 4 major goals. They're very broad, and underneath each one you see some of the ideas that we discussed where we wanted to see funding go to. These are ongoing discussions, but these are our 4 goals for the next 2 years. Some of them you've seen before, and I think it's because we aren't finished. And I don't believe we'll ever be finished with these 4, and that's why it's important that our goals be broad but specific. So participate in those discussions, give us your feedback. So again, we're celebrating our 135th birthday. It's going to be a great year. I want to thank the students, Alyssa Lazo and Michaela June, for their winning design in our logo. And I want to share with you really quickly, I'm going over a little bit in time, but there is a website, if you'll jump over to it, that staff created that's a 1938 map with an overlay of Lompoc today. So we'll put that live, and then you can go play in it, and you can zoom in, zoom out, put your address in, and see what it looked like before. My house didn't even exist in 1938. So it's a fun thing to share with family and friends and play around with. So I want to thank everybody for coming out. I want to say we're going to have a big special birthday celebration on Saturday, August 12th. From noon to 3 p.m. in Old Town during Old Town Market, but on a special day on that Saturday. And I want to see everybody out there. You all have a sticker on the table with the new logo. And I just want to say that I take great pride in representing this community. I know I've stood up here before and talked about issues we needed to address, and you heard us and you've supported the changes we needed, and we're beginning to address those. It's, many years of problems that we're trying to recover from. So it's only been 2 years where we've gotten that additional revenue and the change we needed to start returning our community to the health and vibrancy and opening the door to its future. So we're really on a new path, and I want to thank you all for all you do and continue to do to make our community great. I want to hand it over to Steve Popkin to give you the update for the medical center.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to be here. Thank you, Devika and Mayor Osborne, for the invitation to speak. Much appreciated. I was allocated 15 minutes, so I'm going to speak very quickly to make it through on time. Is this feedback? Can you hear that? Is it okay? It's good? Okay. But first, I want to start with a quick little story. So I've been in the hospital and healthcare industry for more than 37 years, last 22 plus as CEO of various hospitals. But early in my career, in the late 80s, early 90s, I had a mentor. He was the CEO of the hospital I was working with at the time. His name was Mike Kerr. Every now and then, he would pull me aside and impart some words of wisdom. On this particular day, he took me aside and put his arm around my shoulder and said, "Steve, to err is human, but to blame it on someone else, that's management potential." Okay, that covers the humor portion of the event tonight. Okay, so just so that we're all on the same page, I want to, let's see if I got this right. Yeah, got it, thank you. I just want to go over a brief history of the district. Some of this stuff I wasn't even aware of after a little over 4 years here. So real quickly, 1943, the original hospital opened on Hickory Street. 1944, the auxiliary, originally called the Women's Auxiliary. I think there's one man now, but you know how it is these days. The auxiliary was founded to help support the hospital. 1945, healthcare district legislation was passed by the state of California, and that was to help in the provision of hospital and physician services in underserved areas, and this was designated as one of them. In 1946, the Lompoc Healthcare District was formed after the passing of a resolution by the Santa Barbara County Board of Supervisors. And that was the first healthcare district in the state of California. Now there's 33 such districts. The healthcare district has a five-member elected board of directors serving 4-year terms. We are a political subdivision of the state of California, and we are subject to public agency laws and regulations. In 1975, our long-term care facility, the Comprehensive Care Center, finished construction and was open. 1990, the Lompoc Hospital Foundation was established to help financially support the hospital. And hopefully some of you might be playing in the Foundation Golf Tournament Friday, May 12th. We'll see you there. In 2008, the Lompoc Healthcare District changed its name to Lompoc Valley Medical Center. So now the healthcare district and the hospital have the same name, Lompoc Valley Medical Center. So when you hear that name, sometimes we're talking about just the hospital, sometimes we're talking about the entire district. In 2010, the new hospital, which hopefully you're all aware of, opened, and that was constructed with funds from bond measure that had 87% approval of the registered voters who voted on that bond. And from what we're told, that 87% approval is still the highest percent approval of any bond measure in the state of California from then till current. So thank you everyone that was there back then. The old hospital was in 2013 was renovated and turned into the Champion Center. In 2016, the Valley Medical Group, which is a well-known primary care physician practice, was acquired by the district, and that was our first entree into providing physician services. In December of 2018, the North H Center was established through the acquisition of the Sansum Lompoc Clinic after Sansum had announced that they would be leaving Lompoc. And at that same time, after doing that, the Lompoc Health brand or banner was established for all of our medical clinic services. In 2020, the Champion Center was leased to Crestwood Behavioral Health, at which they are successfully operating an 80-bed mental health rehabilitation center, a much-needed entity. And thank you to the neighbors in that area who are being very cooperative with that initiative at the outset and continually. Also in 2020, we took advantage of the favorable financial climate at the time, and we refinanced the general obligation bonds to lower the cost of property taxpayers without extending the term of the bonds. And so throughout the district, we have many physical locations. I'll just run through them quickly. We have our 60-bed acute care hospital and emergency room. We have our 110-bed skilled nursing facility. That's the Comprehensive Care Center. We have the Sleep Disorder Center on D Street. We have the Champion Center, which I already mentioned is leased to Crestwood Behavioral Health. We have medical office space on Ocean that is provided to Savi Health, a not-for-profit entity to provide a free clinic. And then under our Lompoc Health Medical Clinics, we have several locations. We have the North H Center, which is a multi-specialty medical clinic. We have the Urgent Care Center, also located at North H. Our North Third Center, which again is a multi-specialty medical clinic. We have our Oncology Center on Ocean, our Counseling Center, and very soon to be, our next location will be the Vandenberg Village Center. And that, it says it will close escrow in 3 weeks. It's actually 2 weeks on May 10th. And that's located on the corner of Constellation and Burton Mesa. And that's the Coast Hills building. Coast Hills will lease back a little less than 50% of that building, continue operating their credit union in the same portion of that building that they currently are doing. We will use the remaining just over 50% to expand our Lompoc Health medical clinic services and a variety of outpatient services. With the permitting process and the construction time, it'll be approximately a year before we're operational at that location. Pretty much everything we do falls into one of the four following pillars. Number one, to enable Lompoc Valley residents to obtain healthcare services locally to the degree possible, to continually strive to provide the highest quality of healthcare services, to be a responsible employer, and to be a valuable community partner and seek community partnerships wherever possible. So to that first pillar of enabling community residents to receive healthcare locally, We've made significant growth in our Lompoc Health medical clinics and our outpatient services. When we started about 4.5 years ago with that, we had only a handful of physicians under contract or employed, or providers, because in the state of California, you can't employ physicians, but we have them under contract and we have the others employed. So we started with a handful, now we have 34 physicians, 13 advanced practice providers, which are physician assistants and nurse practitioners, and 4 marriage and family therapists. And it's not that we want to control the physician marketplace, but the way medical economics has shifted over the last 10 years, or probably more than 10 years, that if we didn't do that, the vast majority of those 34 physicians would not be practicing in Lompoc, and there'd be a huge void in the physician and outpatient services provided in the city of Lompoc. And actually, that's not a moneymaker for the district. It actually costs us, but we think it's something we need to do to serve the community. So in addition to those Lompoc health providers I mentioned, we have many other excellent physicians in a variety of specialties that are on the hospital's medical staff. So in Lompoc Health, of those 34 physicians and 13 advanced practice providers, we have represented many specialties. And you can see them there, but I'll just read them real quick. Family medicine, general surgery, internal medicine, marriage and family therapy, oncology, orthopedic and spine surgery. We have another orthopedic surgeon starting in September. ENT, pediatrics, nephrology, neurology, urgent care, occupational medicine, OBGYN, psychiatry, bariatric surgery, and then moving back up one, our latest specialty that we added just very recently is urogynecology with Dr. Kaplan, and amongst other things, the focus is on a very common condition of female incontinence, so that's being provided here as well. So what have we been doing the past few years? We tried not to let COVID slow us down. I think we were successful in that, so I'm just going to highlight a few things over the next few slides. Fairly recently, we acquired the Da Vinci Xi surgical robot, and very quickly we developed a very robust robotic surgery program. The main benefits, or the typical benefits of robotic surgery, is more precise surgery, less scarring, less painful and quicker recovery. We also acquired a new MRI, and it's quieter, it's faster, it's more comfortable, it has a greater weight capacity, and much enhanced image resolution, and it has new modalities like prostate imaging, which kind of in some cases early on could replace the need for a biopsy initially. And we also acquired a new PET CT scan with very similarly to the MRI, faster, more comfortable, much enhanced imaging, resolution and imaging, and there's new modalities, for example, coronary artery calcium scoring. Our bariatric surgery program with Dr. Chris Talia fairly recently received designation as a Center of Excellence from Medicare, from Anthem Blue Cross, from Blue Shield of California, and others. We are implementing an inpatient dialysis program. It'll be starting very soon. So once that starts, that patients who are on dialysis and have to be admitted to the hospital for whatever reason will no longer have to be transferred to another hospital in order to continue their dialysis treatments. We were recertified as a stroke-ready hospital, and what that means is we meet these rather stringent requirements to provide initial stroke treatment for stroke patients, obviously, and time is critical when there's a stroke, and we meet all the requirements to be able to treat those patients. During COVID-19, during the pandemic, as soon as the COVID-19 vaccine became available, we right away started vaccination clinics at the hospital. At the beginning, it was several times a week, and we had lines of, we had 400 people at a time. And over that course of time, we've served many thousand community members, both for the initial vaccine and the boosters. As the demand has come down for the vaccine, Most healthcare organizations had stopped doing those vaccination clinics. We decided to continue doing that, just to serve the community, and we continue to this day. However, starting Friday, May 5th, the location of those vaccination clinics will shift from the hospital to our North H Center. It'll be the first Friday of every month and be from 1 to 4:30 p.m. and no appointments necessary, so come on in if you would like to get another booster. Recently, we started an occupational medicine program, and that is to serve area employers so their employees would not have to leave town to get the necessary services that are provided. And those include pre-employment, physicals, fitness for duty, testing, drug and alcohol screening, audiometry, vision screening, and alike. Early in the pandemic, we started a telehealth program for our Lompoc Health patients and visits and medical visits. Now most people are back to in-person appointments, but the telehealth option is still there for those who would like to use it. The mental health and substance use, both individually and taken separately or taken together, is probably the biggest unserved or underserved healthcare need, not only in our community, but in the county and the state and the country. And we're addressing it where we can. Some things we've done, we applied for and received grant funding from the California Bridge program to fund a patient navigator. And that navigator's role is to work in conjunction with our emergency department to connect individuals to resources, but more pertinently to treatment for that substance use disorder, but often the individuals have co-occurring mental health comorbidities. We also distribute Narcan, or the generic naloxone, to the public through our emergency room upon request. So anyone in the public can just go in there and request that and receive it. There's also instructions on how to do it, how to use it. Our telepsychiatry program is getting ready to go live. That will assist our emergency room physicians and our inpatient hospitalist physicians in optimizing the treatment of patients that have psychiatric needs in addition to their medical needs while they're at the hospital. We, as well as Mayor Osborne and other stakeholders, participate in the Project Opioid program, which is a countywide program aimed at decreasing the number of opioid-related overdoses, particularly particular emphasis on fentanyl reduction. Also, through Lompoc Health, we've developed some outpatient services for mental health, and it's comprised of a part-time psychiatrist, 4 licensed clinical social workers, and 4 counselors. Typically, those services are accessed through referral from one of our Lompoc Health primary care physicians. So if you have an interest, please see one of them. We're proud of the fact that our comprehensive care center has consistently earned a Medicare 5-star rating, which is the highest rating available, and also that we've consistently been ranked a U.S. News and World Report top performer. And that means that the comprehensive care center is in the top 16% of nursing homes nationwide for both short-term rehabilitation and long-term care. At the hospital, over the last few years, we've had several awards and recognitions. Just for example, the most recent one was about a month ago, where we were one of 4 hospitals to receive from the state the Quality Synergy Award for our work with children's preventative care, maternity care, and birth equity and behavioral health integration. In addition, that's good. Okay. To help address the big shortage of personnel in the healthcare industry, which is really becoming, in some ways, a crisis situation, we've increased the training programs and medical rotations that we provide on site at the hospital. Currently we have training programs for medical students, physician assistant students, registered nurses, LVNs, CNAs, laboratory staff, some radiology staff, and some physical therapy and occupational staff. In addition to, we're doing some training partnerships with the Vandenberg Space Force Base clinical staff. And we're happy to be partnering with LUSD and some of their career path programs that they are doing. For any of you that may have had trouble finding a parking spot at the hospital recently, we are constructing a new parking lot once our plans are approved by the city, which have just been submitted. No pressure, any planners that might be here today. Okay, pressure. Over the last 4.5 years, the number of employees throughout the district has grown by a little over 20%. We currently have just over 860 employees currently. In our Lompoc health, our medical clinics in calendar year 2022, we had over 98,000 patient visits. So figuring that the Lompoc Valley is around 60,000 population, that equates to an average of more than 1.6 patient visits for every man, woman, and child in the valley. And if you put all of our entities together, the hospital, the comprehensive care center, the Lompoc Health, we had almost 230,000 patient encounters during 2022. Doing that same math, that equates to more than 3.8 encounters for each resident of the Lompoc Valley. And lastly, we're very fortunate to have tremendous internal and external support. I want to just give a huge thank you to our employees, our medical staff, our Lompoc Health Foundation, our volunteers, I see our representative here, our board of directors, community partners, and particularly all of the residents of the Lompoc Valley community. And I thank you. And next up will be Dr. Clara Finneran.
All right, I'm really a teacher at heart, and you've all been sitting for an hour. Stand up, make eye contact with someone at your table or across the room. Dean just told me I can't go past this line. All right. I test my limits. All right. Look across the table or across the room at somebody, make eye contact if that's comfortable for you, and wave. Thank you. Stretch if you need to. All right. Davika, Janelle, Dean, thank you so much for the invitation to be here. It is my pleasure to share a little bit about Lompoc Unified. I am a believer deeply in showing up with my whole and complete self and with great purpose. So my whole and complete self started in Fremont, California. That's where I was raised. Fremont, if you don't know, is in the San Francisco Bay Area. I was a white girl, and I was the minority in Fremont. Fremont is a tremendously Asian, largely Asian Indian, Chinese, Japanese, has a very prominent Sikh population. And so in addition to that setting, I was also born to two amazing people who happened to be unable to hear. And so my first language was sign language, and that created in me a tremendous empathy for others. My parents also happened to be Catholic and did some really good Catholic brainwashing of me. So I'm also a person who believes in service and generosity and giving back to the community. And so that's a big part of me. I went to the University of Notre Dame. Oh, thank you. That also shaped me. Gosh darn it, I have to. All right, I'm gonna stay put, sorry y'all. Went to that university, which had a lot to do with making me who I am. And after that, met this really cute genius. He's an aerospace engineer, and we have 3 children. Sophia is 19, Lucas is 17, Grace is 12. And they have so much to do with teaching me and making me who I am. I also was fortunate enough to be tapped on the shoulder by somebody who said, education needs you, and I'm so grateful. I woke up this morning, got in my car to come to work. There was a little gap between waking up and getting in the car. But anyway, got in my car and thought to myself, I love my job. Love my job. And I have always loved my work in education. This is my favorite job so far. And I'm just so glad to be able to serve here in this community. I want to recognize before I go much further, I have several board members here. Mr. Tom Blanco is here. Miss Janet Blevins is here. Mr. Frankie Caldera, board president, is here. I also have several cabinet members that are here. Miss Johnson had to leave. She's our director of special education. And Mr. Boomersbach, director of HR. They're back hiring teachers because we need those. Mr. Jaramillo, assistant superintendent of education. And Mr. Sorum, Mr. Doug Sorum, assistant superintendent of business. So thanks to my team. It's Administrative Professionals Day today. If you haven't said thank you to all those people that really run the world, do that when you go back. All right, that's a little bit about me. And now about this amazing place, Lompoc Unified. Like any good leader, you come in. I've been here a hot minute. Been here since January 17th. And I have learned so much about what Lompoc Unified is about, what Lompoc is about, and I'm so happy to be a part of this community. The programs that we have, so in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see some of our students engaging in an art project through an art teacher, and we have a number of those, and we're so fortunate to have those. I've been to about 70% of our classrooms, which is pretty good, by the way, in just a few months. And we have such wonderful teachers guiding that work. The bottom picture there is a picture of LVMS. Isn't that a beautiful picture with our beautiful mountains in the background? Hills, mountains, what do we call them here? Hills, okay, thanks. Hills, the hills in the background. That's a parent lunch at LVMS. So all those tables are full of families and students. Upper right-hand corner is a student recognition event at Lompoc High where we had to pull chairs out because it was happening with so much attendance. We've had 2 accreditations in the last couple of months. One was a full-term visit at Cabrillo. The other was a midterm visit at Lompoc High. Both went incredibly well, and so grateful to the teams that worked on those. Accreditation is a process whereby you self-validate, and it's a huge, long, laborious report, and just so grateful to our teams for that. The upper left picture is Cabrillo's library, and I'll talk about facilities in a minute. I can't stand all that paneling. We're going to get rid of it. We're going to get rid of it. And you all are going to help me do that. That's our aquarium. Isn't our aquarium amazing? So that's Cabrillo's aquarium. If you haven't been there, tonight, come tonight. There's a wonderful, wonderful event going on tonight where our students play music. They play jazz. It's called Night of Jazz. I think that's what we call it. And there's also an art show going on at the same time in our art room. And sale. They're selling some of their art too. So come on by. We have amazing labor partners. Upper right-hand corner is a CSEA meeting. Those are what we call our classified employees. So our classified employees tend to be categorized in the form of support. There are bus drivers, our custodians, our maintenance technicians, our food service workers. And that was a gathering of a classified CSEA regional leadership conversation. We also have LFT, that's our Teachers Association. And I'm very deliberate about using the word partner. They are all partners in this work, and we work with the associations. Speaking of bus drivers, we could use a few. If you want to drive a bus, look how pretty that is on the upper left. That's a view from one of our buses. Went for a wonderful ride on a bus one morning. That's one of the things I did. And we're short right now 7 bus drivers. That's a reality. We are short-staffed. You heard staffing shortages mentioned by both Janelle and Steve, and that's certainly a reality for us. So thank you for sending people our way. It's really a wonderful place to work. That right-hand picture is a really special one. I know it doesn't really look like it, but we have 5 CIF championship teams this year. So that's the girls' basketball team, and that was them right before they won by 1 point their CIF championship game. Bottom picture is a picture of the Los Barros Visual and Performing Arts Academy team with the rest of the Santa Barbara County team at a statewide recognition event in Anaheim. They were a visual arts high-performing school, and they're one of, I want to say it was 14 in the state recognized with this award. We have a number of award-winning teachers. We just found out about a teacher who's winning CTE, Teacher of the Year. Career Technical Education is what CTE is. We are so proud of our staff. And thank you to all of you in this space who are our community partners. That's a picture of that beautiful Boys and Girls Club. And City Hall recognized all of our sports teams, fire, police, the city, the chamber, the Y, Vandenberg, the hospital. Just so grateful for all of those community partners. A couple of more highlights. That bottom picture is a really special one. That's Jesus Zuniga. Jesus won a $180,000 ROTC scholarship. So he basically has his check written for his entire college career. Really proud of him. Can't really see his mom's face, but she is beaming, and wonderful to see that. So this is a great place, full of great people, and we have a lot of work to do. I went to speak to some students last week in an ethnic studies class. It's optional. It will be required in 2029 by the state. So this class asked such brilliant questions, and I had a delightful conversation with them. And they sent me back some thoughts and some feedback. And one of the things that one of the young women in the class said was, "She's doing the darn work." We got darn work to do. And I'm going to do it, and we're all going to do it together. So, we're going to serve our 16 schools. We have over 9,300 students. We have 1,100 employees. 63% of our students are what we call unduplicated. That means they fall into the categories of socioeconomically disadvantaged, homeless, or foster youth. We also have about 70% of our students are Hispanic, about 20% are white, about 2% are Black, about 1.6% are Asian, 1% are Filipino, and 2 or more races is 4.5. If you look around this room, there's a lot of white people in this room, right? So that's part of our work. That's part of our work, is to really get to know and understand and welcome and embrace all of our students. The work is about belonging. Sometimes I find that's a more powerful word than equity, right? We have about a $150 million budget. So these are my 3 focus areas. The first is to build a culture that's rooted in trust. There's been some trust, I think, broken before through the district and all of its partners. And so I'm committed to repairing that and restoring that. The second is, if you look at our academic achievement, we have all these amazing things going on and all these incredible people, and the academic achievement is not what it needs to be. So I'm going to work on that. That's why I went and got my doctorate. I know how to do that. And then thirdly, we're going to improve our facilities. So our facilities are 60 plus years old. We have $450 million of needs. We get about $9,500 to $10,000 per student. None of that money is specifically targeted towards facilities. And then you know how this goes in your home. right? Your dishwasher breaks, and then, oh, your washing machine breaks, right? And then you have a leak in your roof. This is what happens, right? And so that's what's happening to our schools. So we're going to work on that. We're going to attempt to fix a lot of the plumbing, electrical infrastructure, maybe make it prettier, take away that paneling. So that's my third goal. I have 3 requests of my staff. We had a staff development day just a few weeks ago. I spoke to about 700 of our staff members. The first request I have of them is that they come to work every day with purpose and with joy. And if they don't, those sweet kids, those faces, that's why we go to work. And if they've lost that, I still love them. We all still love them. But I ask them to go find something else to do. So that's my first request. My second request of my staff, yeah, thank you. It's really important, especially in education. Secondly, I've asked them to learn and to grow together. There's a brilliant educational researcher and writer. His name is John Hattie, Hattie, if you're interested. John Hattie did some meta research. He's also done his own research. And what he has found is that when teachers work together, this is a very simplified version of it, but when teachers work together and talk to each other about kids and about data, and they do it in a way that is structured and productive, it makes an impact. So I've asked our teachers, and they're doing this work, they're doing it, to work together to serve our kids and to learn, right? And then the last thing I've asked them is to create a full life for themselves. So a lot of the narrative out there, we're getting hammered right now as educators. Please stop. Please support us. Ask questions if you have questions. And this is part of why I've told my staff to have a life, because they need it. They desperately need it. They're woefully underpaid. Don't get me started on that, but and that's partially because it's known as a service profession. It's also 80%, 70 to 80% women, depending on where you are. Only 22% of superintendents are women, by the way, which is pretty remarkable. We have a long way to go. But I've asked them to craft a full life outside of work. Have a full life at work, but I've asked them to have a wonderful life outside of work. And that's my family on the upper right. There's the cute nerd I married. And my kids. There's us at the mission. On the bottom left, actually, my kids and my nieces. That's Halama. What a beautiful beach. We went on like one of the most glorious days. And then that was a picture of a farewell party from my previous district. So after a 25-year career, amidst a 25-year career, I should say, I'm so happy to be here in Lompoc and to be working with you all and to be serving our students and our staff. And we have, like I said, some work to do, and I look forward to the wonderful things ahead. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, that kind of wraps up the day. I want to thank everybody, all of our presenters for presenting. Thank you all for attending. I invite you guys to check out the back table on your way out. We have some chamber information about our upcoming Old Town Market, which is one of the biggest events in our community. This year, we are partnering with the city in collaboration with the 135th birthday, which will extend Old Town Market to Saturday, August 12th. So thank you again for attending, and you guys enjoy the rest of your day.